Welcome to Blueprint Radio. I'm your host, Martin Williams. Here we help you create a blueprint for your life. So let's build.
Welcome to Blueprint Radio. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. Today's topic is we are here to create new things. So one of the biggest things that I've struggled with in my life is deciding what my contribution to the world would be. I've had many different ideas and iterations and things like that. And I finally settled on coaching with a mix of some other things that I'll get into as time goes on. But for right now, coaching is the thing for me. But, it took a while for me to get to that point, to that level of clarity. And I think one of the reasons was that I didn't realize what the purpose of our contribution is. I'm a believer, and I believe that God sends us here for a purpose. I believe that we're here on our very limited time in earth on purpose and to complete an assignment or assignments. And one of those assignments that I think is more corporate, when I say corporate, I think more for everyone, is that I believe that we're here to do new things. I believe that we're here to do new things and then also do existing things in a new way. We're here to bring the invisible to the tangible. Now, the problem with a lot of people is that they don't know what they should do. We have an infinite amount of options in this day and age, and that's a good thing. Social media and internet, the internet and the world is smaller than it's ever been, because you can connect with people literally all around the world at the touch of a button or, through an app or something like that. So that's a good thing, but it's not always good when you're indecisive, because you can be stuck for a very long time. And so getting unstuck is understanding that we're not here to do what's been done before, because there's no need to redo the things that have already been done. Some people will tell you, well, don't reinvent the wheel. And I understand where that's coming from, but where is your distinction if you're doing things that have already been done, already been created, right? Is that truly your assignment? Is your assignment to trace what's been drawn, or is your assignment to draw something that hasn't been drawn before? And I would lean towards the latter. We're here to bring forth things that haven't existed up to now. We were created this way. I think it's a big reason why so many people are disillusioned on their jobs, because of the repetitiveness of their daily tasks. And then when you add to that the mandate to conform to a corporate structure, whether it's the SOPs or the bylaws, whatever corporations have as rules, you have to conform to those rules if you're going to work for that corporation. And I think that leads to a lot of miserable people who are dragging themselves to work day after day. We're here to create, and we're here to create new things. So if you ever have tried to decide, okay, well, what is it that I'm supposed to do? What are those ideas that you've had? And maybe you've been sitting on them for a long time. Maybe you had an idea to create something like an ice cream scoop, right? Like a heated ice cream scoop. Because, whenever you get ice cream, it's frozen rock solid, because it has to be, right? But you're trying to dig that spoon into that ice cream so it can be eaten. But maybe you don't want to wait for it to defrost, because you want your ice cream now. I mean, it's the American way, right? We want things now. We don't want to wait for anything, right? So you want that ice cream now. So you had this thought. So what if I can make a heated ice cream scoop? And that way, you plug it in or whatever, and then, you turn it on, and, obviously you don't want it too hot, but you just want it warm enough so it'll just cut through that frozen ice cream and you can have your ice cream, right? Now, that's a good idea, and it's probably been done by now, but it's just an example of bringing forth things that haven't existed yet. And that's how people change the world and in the process become wealthy. There wasn't a Starbucks right before Howard Schultz brought it forth into America. And I know that it was based upon the coffee shops that he visited when he was traveling overseas, but it didn't exist here, right? He had the vision, to bring it into fruition in America. So he decided to do that, even though no one was selling coffee for $6, when he did that. But he tapped into something because he created something that didn't exist yet. You have to do new things. I truly believe that if you're going to be fully fulfilled, you have to do things that haven't been done yet. The fear in creating new things is usually connected to the need for acceptance, because human beings, we don't like being rejected. We don't like people making fun of us or our creations. And we also want to be compensated. Pardon me. We also want to be compensated for our creations, because we have, the different responsibilities of life. We have to pay rent or mortgage. We have to pay car payments and things of that nature. So we want to be compensated for our creations too. And there's an uncertainty that surrounds to who, what, where, and how much those contributions are or will be. But none of this should stop you from creating. And here's why. Number one, it's what you were created to do. And I alluded to that earlier. We were created to be creators, right? We come from a creator. And when you come onto this earth, you're here to create. It's a reason why children they're constantly drawing things. They're constantly trying to build new things. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that a kid will take a cardboard box and draw on it and, try to turn it into, like my daughter, she turned a cardboard box into a rocket ship. She called it her rocket ship. And it was just a cardboard box. Why do you think that is? Why do you think kids do that? Because they come here as creators. They're naturally creative, right? 18 years of schooling and daycare and, unimaginative parenting beats that creativity out of them. So when they become adults, they're seeking a job or they're seeking money instead of just being creative, right? Constant creation. Number two, constant creation is a gateway to happiness, right? Creative people, generally speaking, are happier than people who are not creative. Okay. When you're doing repetitive tasks over and over again, you're not happy. You're not yourself. You're not someone who is enjoying life. You're not getting up excited to do new things because you're doing the same thing over and over again to put food on the table. And even though that's an admirable thing, even though, it's a good thing, but we're not tapping into, when I say we, I'm saying most people, they're not tapping into their creative selves. So you've got to take, if it's just a few hours a week, create something new, create something that hasn't been done before. I'm not saying quit your job today, but what I am saying is start to lean into being more creative. Right? Number three, creativity puts you in harmony with life itself. Life is creative. You know, when you go outside and you see a tree, you know, growing and sprouting, you know, that's life. Life is constantly creating. Life is constantly generating new things. It puts you in harmony with life. You know, when you don't create, you're working against the grain, and it's probably one of the many reasons why life feels so hard for people, because they're not creating anything, and that's not the push of life. Life is creative, and when you don't create, you're pushing against that. And then number 4 is that you will be compensated for what you create eventually. Maybe, you know, you could create a product, right? But maybe people won't buy it right away because you're not known. Or maybe, you know, the product isn't where it needs to be for it to be commercially viable, but you will still be compensated. There's many times when I've created things and maybe the thing itself didn't sell, but the money came from somewhere else. You know, maybe I got an unexpected, you know, tax refund, or maybe I got an unexpected gift from someone, or, you know, perhaps I got a raise on my job, or, you know, times when I was unemployed, I was able to find employment, so that money would come. Don't worry about the compensation. And, you know, I'm one of the more practical people you'll ever talk to. You know, I budget out and money, and, you know, I plan things out. But the bottom line is that when you create, you will be rewarded for your creation, because that is a God-ordained activity. And when you create, you align yourself with God and with life. And in doing so, you will be rewarded and you will be financed to create more things. So what I want you to do as I close this out, I want you to think about one thing, one idea that you've been keeping on the back burner for some time. And instead of saying, well, one day I'll do that, or one day I'll start that, start it today, right now. Start it today. Start creating something that doesn't exist. Start doing something that hasn't been done. And in doing so, you're going to tap into something, you know, that you haven't tapped into yet. A new level of creativity, a new level of energy, a new level of imagination. If you do that, if you take that challenge. And I sincerely hope that you do just that. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast, the Blueprint Radio podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to Blueprint Radio. For more information on Martin Williams coaching and products, please go to guidedexpressions.com or visit me on Facebook as well as Instagram.